right, what's up? Welcome to episode 40, Mi Duole podcast. I'm Stuart Anderson. Just a short introduction before we roll on with Dan Thunell, team member, sponsor of the team. At the outset of creating the Mi Duole podcast, one of our ideas was making sure that the people on the team knew and were aware of each other and learned some cool things about the guys and gals that we cycle with. So along with all these cool guests that we've had on, one of the funnest things to do is to interview our own kind, the people that are on the team, that ride for the team, that have for years or that are new, that each come on and share their story, a little bit about who they are, why they ride, why they're on the team, and some advice that they've learned over the years. So welcome to Dan's podcast. We're grateful that he would be on. Very busy man with his family, his job, his career. So we're grateful that Dan would take the time to share some of the cool things about him and why he cycles, why he's part of this great team. So at the outset, thank you, Dan. Thank you to all those who spend their time being on the podcast and sharing who they are with each other. Beyond that, there's a few announcements at the beginning about Team Camp in St. George. The new kit order for 2022 spring is coming, and all the great things that are happening with the team. So thank you. Grateful for the listeners. Thankful for 40 episodes. Dang, we're really getting up there. So onward. Enjoy this episode, and we'll see you the next one. Thanks. All right. What's up? Welcome, Mi Duole podcast. Greetings. Chip, Dan.
Hey.
Hello. Today we are visiting with our esteemed colleague. Dan, we'll just pause on you. We'll do an introduction here in a sec. First, just a couple announcements. Team Camp, March 17th through 20th. Please put it on your calendar, St. George. Second, kits we are close. We're counting down 2 weeks till they should be arriving here at our office. So they should be shipped sometime around January 24th, 2022. And then we'll figure out how to get together and spread COVID through the kits. It'll be great. Right, Chip?
No.
We're just going to chuck them to everybody from the car. Dude, but it's really fun. We already sold out of all the black socks. So I had to reorder black socks, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. It's going to be really fun to send them all out to everybody. So anyway, hey, will you guys share your current training status? Chip, how's that going for you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, happy to. In the winter, I love to ski, love to hike and skin and ski, and then just ski in general. And I love the time still on the bike outside on the fat bike. And of course, I'm a regular on Zwift, but I kind of keep the Zwifting to about 1 hour sessions so that I can get some weightlifting in, along with just to keep things mixed up. So I may be different than those listening. I definitely mix up about 4 months of the year.
Great. Dan Thunell, how is your current training status?
Well, it's a new year, so I'm ready to get back on the bike and start riding again. New me. Yeah, I usually I take a little bit of time off the bike and at the end of the year and kind of.
Dude, you've been skiing.
Clear my head. I've been skiing a lot. I love skiing.
Yeah.
And in fact, I went up to Brighton on New Year's Day. I was expecting an awful crowd, and I didn't have to wait in a single line. Got right on the lift all day and skied all day until I just couldn't even stand up anymore. Mm-hmm. It was awesome.
Dude, that's awesome. We tried to go up on New Year's Eve and it was disaster. So many people. Smart.
Well, it was bitter cold on New Year's Day. I will say that.
Yeah.
But
Dan, I follow that, and I think that New Year's Day morning is the best day of skiing of the year.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had a blast. Good snow. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I've been riding a little bit the last few months, but nothing serious. Just
all right.
fun
That's
and
good.
staying in shape. And now come January, it all starts ramping up.
Ramp it up. Let's go. So if you don't know Dan, Chip and I were introduced to Dan because he's our neighbor. So we would see Dan out and about. I remember very distinctively, Dan, one time we were going up, I don't even remember how we were going up American Fork Canyon and we left early. Like we left holiday at like 5 and you were already coming back down and you were alone. And I'm like, what is he doing alone? We have to connect with Dan. And then I guess, I don't know if the rest was history, but Dan's been a sponsor of the team for the last 2 years. And then basically we could be number one training partners, Dan. I mean, we're together almost every morning. So very fun. Dan, I hesitate, but I'm going to do it. We have an introduction from Dan's wife.
There's no hesitation on this. This may be, I don't know, to do it justice, this may be the best introduction in our podcast series, period.
Okay, so I'm just going to read it and we'll make some commentary, some lighthearted commentary. It starts with, my name is Meg and my husband, Dan, is an addict, a cycling addict. When he proposed, I had no idea I would spend 40% of our marriage pulling wet Lycra out of the washing machine and hanging it on to dry on every banister and railing in our house. I freaking love that. Dan started off as a runner, but after an orthopedic surgeon told him he had the ankles of a 96-year-old man, he started mountain biking for exercise.
Stu, we may just need to pause after each paragraph because there's too much meat on this intro.
Dude, it's only funny because my entire basement is a laundry service for freaking bike kits. It's the same thing.
I'm going to share something because my wife does not usually listen to every podcast. I'm going to tell you guys, I do all my cycling laundry on my own.
That's great.
And it just kind of simmers that down a little bit, Dan. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'm convinced that's why Jake has so many kits. It's a one and done kind of scenario.
I think she especially loves it when I pull the bibs inside out after a Zwift session and just throw them right on top of the basket.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on. Paragraph 2. Dan's secret: complete snob for years and refused to even try road biking. But after our last kid ended up to be surprise twins, he was too scared to ask me for enough time to drive up to the mountain, bike on the mountain, and drive home from the mountain. It wouldn't have ended well for anyone. So his older brother, Mark, had been a cyclist for years and convinced Dan to give road biking a chance. On one of his very first road rides, a century in Park City, he almost died. But then a monster was born. And for the Dan, do you remember that ride? Is that clear?
Oh man,
moment?
That was so it was supposed to be 100 miles toward Park City back in the days, out to Wolf Creek area.
Yeah.
Well, they forgot to put somebody out there at the turnaround point.
Yeah.
So we ended up in Hannah or some other city. Anyway.
You went down?
We went all
over
the way
Snake.
down.
Oh, that's terrible.
I think we ended up doing 130 or 140 miles. I had never ridden more than about 30 before that day.
Oh, that's bad.
And I wanted to cry when I got off the bike. Kiss the ground.
For the last 10 years, Dan's gotten up around 5 a.m. She has no idea. You're up probably at 4 a.m. almost every day. So he can get his miles in and still be a dad to our 6 kids, 8 chickens, and a very needy dog.
Yes.
Very good. He's ridden Lodija as a relay 3 times, raced solo 6 times. Only one of those solo races ended in the back of an ambulance. So that's pretty good, I guess. Can't wait for that story. Wait, is that on lockdown or are you going to tell us that one?
No, let's just go there. I think we go
let's
there.
Just hear it. Let's just go
now?
for it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I have to preface this with the day before. So this is in 2015. And
I know this story. I do know this story.
Okay? This is the year that I became a Cat 3 racer and entered the Road Masters Road National Championship. It was held up in Ogden at Snow Basin. Oh my gosh. I was so excited and also so out of my league. I got dropped on the in the first 5 miles of that race, and spent 60 miles in the heat, just suffering, ran out of water, and ended up in the health tent or whatever after that. That was on Friday. And just drank water nonstop that night. Drove up to Logan and started Lodaja Saturday morning. And I mean, you talk about sore, just really sore legs at the beginning of Lodaja is never a good sign. Dude. And I toughed it out. I tried to quit a couple of times. My wife bullied me into staying on my bike, and I finished and rolled into the finish. And I don't remember a lot after that, except that I was having a lot of chest pains, having trouble breathing, just had these sharp pains in my chest. I remember laying down in a cot in the little tent there, and I actually don't remember riding in an ambulance. She says it happened. I don't remember that it happened.
But you finished.
I finished. And
you finished.
Ended up in the ER there in Jackson Hole, and 3 liters of fluids later, discharged and made it to the $1 Million Cowboy for burgers with my brothers.
Yes.
So that was
we shouldn't laugh about this, but it's just like kind of a familiar thing that we see sometimes.
Oh man,
this year it was
nobody wants to be that guy that's hauled away in the back of an ambulance after a loaded. Everybody's staring at you.
So great though.
Good memories.
This is incredible. So for the last 3 years, Dan, his brothers and best friends rented an RV and have done the Kokopelli relay, which was the Rockwell relay, climbed Pike's Peak. I saw that picture, the Mount Whitney portal, Mount Evans, Haleakala this year, and many more. He also got a VPN so he can watch every monument, classic, and tour event at ungodly hours and different languages that he doesn't speak. I love that, dude. It's my favorite thing that you watch those. And so good. Okay.
I'm 30% fluent in Dutch. I'm joking.
Professionally, Dan, a periodontist who's beloved by his patients, team, and peers. He's been awarded Professor of the Year by the dental residents at the University of Utah, and is constantly disappointing little old grandmas who want to line him up with their grandchildren. Sorry, old ladies. Things that make Dan, I love this paragraph. Things that make Dan a great doctor, husband, and father are the same things that make him a great cycling companion. He's meticulous, detail-oriented, and more importantly, he is unfailing and unyieldingly kind. There are no games with Dan. What you see is what you get. He's competitive, but mostly only with himself. He loves riding with complete novices who wear their kids' helmets and Nikes as much as he does love racing Cat 3 cyclists. I agree. As long as he has a hill to climb, he's happy. And because he's so kind and patient, and because he mostly tries not to make fun of me for almost totaling our car on an Idaho service road after I got lost driving Lodaja support last year.
Let's talk about that, Dan. I mean,
what is she saying?
Your wife is making
How is
fun
that
of
even
you a
possible?
Little bit. Yeah, you go ahead and let's hear it. Let's hear the story.
This is all on her. She decided that the route that they give you in the Lodaja Bible, she just wasn't going to do that big loop through what is it, Idaho Springs. And she found a dirt road that she was
great.
According to Google Maps, that was going to get her there twice as fast and with less traffic. So anyway, dirt road turned into forest, overgrown trees, got her car stuck in the mud.
Really?
Got pulled over by a cop and ticketed for not following the route. Thought that I was going to get kicked out of Lodaja.
Oh my God.
Really,
this is 2020.
This was last year. Yeah. So I hit Montpelier and she's not there to provide support. And I'm going, Meg, I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. And some lady in a Mi Duole shirt comes up. She goes, "What's wrong, baby? You look lost." Oh man, I was so disappointed that she wasn't there. But
That's
Mi
tough.
Duole group is great. There were a bunch of support people there that gave me a water bottle and some food and sent me on my way. And anyway, finally met up with my wife later on in the day.
Dude, so good.
So then did she kind of break it to you at the next feed zone, or just only a
I
partial
was
of the story?
halfway up Salt River, and I look over. I'm dying because I've only had like 2 bottles, and I'm at Salt River. I'm dying.
Yeah.
I look over, and there she is, right next to me with the window down.
And your car
Trying to apologize
to bits.
There may have been a few choice words shared between us.
So good, dude. I love loaded Jeff. All right, last paragraph. This is completely unrelated, but I will never have this platform again. I want to make sure everyone knows that he has an unhealthy obsession with Vans, shoes, and currently owns 24 pair.
Nice.
I had to give up a full shelf in our closet for his fancy foot. There's nothing wrong with that. That is not weird in any way.
I love my Vans.
That's great. All right, Dan, tell us about family, background, history. Let's just like get to know you.
Well, gosh,
But
I think that that sums it up, doesn't it?
Oh, Chip.
Yeah, those Vans. We just skipped over there. Do you like the slip-ons more, Dan? Do you like every kind of Vans that tie up? Like, what are?
Yeah, I'm a laces guy. I've got one pair of slip-ons, and I wear them at work every once in a while. They're actually custom made, the slip-ons, from a record shop in Chicago. I bought them during the pandemic to support the small businesses that Vans had linked up with. I was a sucker for that campaign. And but no, mostly just the old school lace up.
Yep, cool.
So good.
Yeah, do it. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I moved around a lot growing up. Mostly lived back east. Lived in Connecticut and North Carolina and Atlanta. Graduated from high school in Atlanta and went out to BYU, where I met Meg, my wife, and she was in my apartment complex and upset that I had never asked her out on a date. So came over and knocked on my door one day and chewed me out for never asking her out. And then she proposed to me a few short months later, and the rest is history.
That's great.
No, I proposed to her, but she was definitely the driving force. I was naive and still trying to figure things out. We moved to Pittsburgh, where I went to dental school. My father-in-law affectionately calls Pittsburgh the armpit of the nation. But I thought it was a pretty cool city. If I ever moved back east, I've lived in a lot of places, but if I ever moved back east, I'd go to Pittsburgh in a heartbeat. Fun place.
Nice.
Did my periodontics residency in Iowa, and you want to talk about armpit of America, man?
What is that?
Nothing. There's nothing there. There was the mall, the university, and a merry-go-round. That was about it. And then we moved to Utah. We've been here for almost 15 years, and I've got a practice down on Highland Drive, 4200 South and Highland Drive, so just right across the street from our neighborhood here. And I love what I do, and it's been a good career.
What do you explain what you do, Dan? What is
it? So a periodontist. So we essentially we treat gum disease, so infection, disease in the mouth. We do a lot of dental implants, if you're familiar with that. Basically that's a tooth replacement if you lose a tooth, and then we do a lot of gum grafting. Those are probably the 3 main pillars of my practice: gum grafting, dental implants, and treating gum disease.
And Dan's job requires him to be at work at let's talk about that. How you balance this this sport we obsess about with your life.
Yeah, it's an 8 to 5 job. I'm in my office 3 days a week. I teach at the University of Utah Dental School a day and a half a week, essentially. And so, yeah, I can't do my job via Zoom. I really wish I could. And I've told you guys many times through the pandemic how jealous I was of you that were able to do that. But pretty much if I don't ride by 5:30 in the morning, there's no time between my kids, my family, my job, owning a business and everything that comes with that. It's first thing in the morning or not at all.
Yeah.
So and it's hard because I'm super passionate about cycling. I love it. It's a huge part of my life. So it's a hard balancing act. It's one of the hardest acts I do.
Well, it's not just time spent either. It's like, how tired am I going to be? How worn out is my body? It's not just like, oh, it's a couple hours in the morning. It's like all those factors.
I need to have steady hands at work.
That's why you stay off Zwift.
Oh man.
Okay, so Meg kind of alluded to it, but how did it start? Like, tell us like that history of
started in 2012. I had a patient who needed some work done, dental work done, and he owned a bike shop. And he said, "Hey, how about you come pick out a bike and we'll do a trade straight up."
Dang.
And my brother was biking, trying to get me into it. And I thought, and my wife's right, I was really a mountain biking snob. I was never going to get into road biking, but I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And bought the bike, and I didn't realize I had to buy this, then you got to buy the shoes, and I got to buy the gloves, and I got to buy the kit and the repair kit. And I mean, you're not just buying a bike. I think I spent as much on all the extras as I did for the bike.
Right.
And I remember my first ride, I told Meg, I'm going to ride to Tanner's Park and back. I thought that'd be a long ride. And about 8 minutes later, I call her on the phone from Tanner's Park. And I said, I'm already here. So I think I'm going to go a little bit further. And, 10 years later, I'm still always looking for that chance to go just a little bit further. I just want to keep pushing it. My goal this year is I want to do the Hooroo 300 down in southern Utah and see if I can pull that off solo.
Wow.
I figure if I can do 203 miles, I can do 300.
I don't know if that math is correct, but I'm behind you. I'm standing behind you.
Yeah. Dan, talk about that event just a little bit.
The Hooroo 300?
Yeah.
So it starts in St. George and ends in St. George. It covers a lot of the same route as the second half of Kokopelli. Kind of goes up and through that area. So you've got, I think you have 36 hours to finish. And it's a solo event. You can't draft. You can't.
Really? So we
can have
show
support.
Up and help.
No, I was Meg talked about my good friend Kyle Hill. He's a Duole as well.
Yeah.
He and I are just always looking out for that next adventure, and so this was one that we've been talking about. And at first I thought, well, we'll write it together and work together, and then I read the rules. No, you can't be within drafting distance of somebody for more than 10 seconds.
That's crazy.
Can you do it on a TT at any point? Is there any bike swaps in the rules? If you can't draft, can you ride a different bike?
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it. But it is addressed that's in the Bible, but I can't remember what it says.
Okay, what date are we prepping for? When is this?
This is the night before Lodaja. No, this is 2 weeks before Lodaja. So I think it's the 26th-ish of August.
Yeah.
It's a fairly new event, isn't it? I mean, this has been around the country, but it's only been in Utah for a couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been around a little bit. This is the second or third year that it's kind of been on my mind.
So we're thinking, how many hours is this? 14, 15?
Well, this is a lot of climbing. This is a lot more climbing than Lodaja. I'm thinking, this is going to be like an 18 to 20 hour event for me. I don't know.
Can't wait.
Dang.
I'm not so worried about that.
Send
just
pictures.
Want to do it. Yeah.
Gabe, we got to hear about some of these. I mean, you've done Kokopelli the last couple of years. Any good stories? Any just
Kokopelli is one of my favorite events, and if anybody's listening that's even remotely thinking about doing it, grab three buddies and go do it, because it's an experience like no other. I love that race. But so last year, I do this with my brothers and Kyle, and last year we had the goal to be under 30 hours for our team. We've been right around the 31-hour mark the previous 2 years, and last year we wanted to be under 30 hours. And about halfway through Capitol Reef, which is my leg, I get the runs, man. Something's not happy in my stomach. And we rented an RV for this. And so they're pulled over on the side of the road, ready to throw bottles at me. And all I do is throw my bike at them and run in the RV. and I'm in there for like 20 minutes trying to get myself settled down and finally get on the bike and go riding again. Well, guess what our time was? 30 hours and 20 minutes exactly.
No.
And so they don't let me live that down. They remind me that the 20 minutes I spent clearing myself out was the difference between us being under 30 hours.
That's unfair.
But yeah, you know, in the middle of the night, there's some dark moments in Kokopelli where you want to throw up, you want to quit.
Yeah.
You do not feel good, but at least for me, the morning comes, the sun comes back up, and there's something changes, and it's all exciting again. And so that's a cool event. That would be another epic solo ride right there someday.
Chip's always doing the leg where the sun's coming up, which is the best.
It is.
Yeah.
We've done it twice.
That's is that Penguich to top of Cedar Breaks?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he like winds under that's the one. So fun.
That is a great leg. One of my favorite legs of that race. That climb up through Cedar Breaks is just spectacular.
We don't have to. You can just say pass. But Lodija this year.
Oof.
Yeah, it was not it's, you know, you work hard and you set personal goals, and when things don't come together right because of a stupid decision, you regret it. Yeah. So I had a rain jacket in my back pocket, and I just thought, no, it's not cold. It's not too cold. I'm not too wet. And it just kept raining, and it kept raining. And even climbing up Strawberry, I guess I was working so hard. I stayed warm and still felt good. But as soon as we started that descent, oh man, that cold, wet hit me, and I was chilled to the bone. I don't know. You guys remember riding up and over Guardsman this last year that we froze our tails off? And
well, one guy didn't on this podcast because he wrapped his hands in toilet paper from the toilet at the top of Guardsman Pass.
Oh man, you gave your arm warmers to your wife. I don't know how you did that descent, but anyway, you know, just I could not stop shaking when I rolled into Montpelier. I was chattering and spent about 30 minutes in my brother's car trying to warm up.
Dang, dude.
And you know, by then the race is over. It just became a ride.
Yeah.
So
tough. You finished.
I finished, and we'll use that as a little motivation to be better prepared for next year. This year.
Nice.
Man.
All right, Chip.
We hear so much about Snowdija from that year that it snowed so hard, but we really experienced, all of us, this reign of Lodija this last year. I rode with Dan.
That's right.
From Montpelier. So it was good to connect and ride with Dan, but that was a tough one.
That was.
Dan, you just started getting into gravel riding and got a new bike this last year. We are so excited to start venturing out on some dirt with you.
Yes, I'm excited to do some dirt rides. I've done a few this year. I haven't done didn't do as much as I thought I would, but I'm excited. There's some routes I really want to try.
Dude,
I'm hoping you'll take me on a few.
6 total bikes though, Chip. What's your total? That's pretty good, Dan.
It's right around there.
What are the two specialized? You have the
I've got a
SL7.
Got a new SL7 that I just built up this year, and I've got a Tarmac Pro. I call it the chameleon. It kind of changes colors depending on the light. Anyway, I'm trying to offload that one right now. I've got somebody who has it on loan and is considering buying it. I've got my Canyon that I keep on my trainer. I've got my Canyon Ultimate that I use as my backup on the road. I've got a Canyon mountain bike, and then I've got my Vent gravel bike.
It's pretty good. It's good quiver.
I've got a little beach cruiser as well that I love for chasing kids around the neighborhood.
I'm adding that to show notes. Beach cruiser.
Yep.
Everybody needs a good beach cruiser.
That's right.
Nice. All right. Hey, so maybe let's talk about before Mi Duole, and then where you spend most of your time, like favorite races, events, some memories and stuff. So how did you used to manage cycling before we met?
Yeah, so I started out. I have a really good friend who is actually a cycling coach, and we were friends before I was into cycling, and really before she was doing coaching. But once I started biking, she said, "I'd love to train you," and so I worked with her for about 4 or 5 years, and it was good. And I learned a lot, and she was an amazing coach and just really supportive, and kind of really helped me get to that. I wanted to upgrade to that Cat 3 level, and she really worked hard with me to make that happen. And we've remained good friends. I stopped training with her in about 2017. So that whole time I was riding with the Intermountain Live Well group. They really are more northern Utah. I didn't have anybody down here that I was actually riding with, but I liked the charity arm of their team, and so I joined their team, and then Kyle and I connected and became good friends. Kyle Hill, and he said, you should check out the Duoles, and the rest is history.
Hey, man. Great. It's pretty short history, actually.
It's been a couple of years.
As we move in, maybe to part 2 here, talking about your training, your mindset, your family, how you balance. Maybe talk about some of your favorite events. I know we've already talked about Kokopelli, but dude, in order to get that Cat 3, you had to do a lot of stuff, like a lot of events. You're just constantly racing, like looking for stuff to do. Any favorites or why you do that?
I love the feel of racing. I love testing myself against myself more than anything. And favorite races, I love East Canyon Echo Road Race. That's probably that was my very first race that I ever did. I guess that Tour de Part City is not really a race. That was a Grand Fondo, if you will. But this was my first actual sanctioned race, was this East Canyon Echo Road Race. And man, what a miserable day that was on the bike, but learned so much about myself. Rain and snow the entire time on that. And that was a crazy day. But I Sugar House Crit, that's the only crit race I'll do. There's a couple of hills in there to break it up, and love the Sugar House Crit. Porcupine Hill Climb, that's another one.
Dude, love that.
As far as events, sanctioned events, those are my top 3 probably.
Tell us about Mount Evans,
But
though.
but then, as much as I love racing, I love. My wife said that in the intro there. I just love climbing, and so I'm always looking for a climbing challenge. And so my brother and I got this idea a few years ago that we try to climb some of these long climbs, hard climbs, tall climbs. And that's how we found Mount Evans. Mount Evans is the highest paved road in North America.
Nice.
And it's just outside of Denver. And so we went down there, stayed in the basement of a bicycle shop, actually, was the Airbnb. It was so cool. And rode from, it was called Idaho, I think it was called Idaho Springs, Colorado.
Perfect.
And
that makes
it's
sense.
right at the base of Mount Evans. So we rode straight out of our Airbnb, and it's a 30-mile climb. You get up to 14,200 feet. You think you start at 7,000 feet roughly. And that was an awesome climb. Just what a cool experience. And then we did Independence Pass the next day, from the Leadville side up and over, and then descended into Aspen. What an awesome descent that was. It was just so fast and sweeping turns. It was really cool. So then our next, the second highest peak is Pike's Peak. We did that a couple of years later. And that is much harder than Mount Evans. So that's a much steeper gradient. And that really, the last 1,000 feet of climbing really hurt on that one. But
I've driven that, Dan. Is it still gravel, or is it like paved for?
It's all paved.
All the way to the top, huh?
All the way to the top. It's just smooth, beautiful tarmac now. Yeah, it's pretty new.
Wow.
A few years ago, Kyle and my brothers and I went out to Owens Valley, California, and we did over 3 days. We did Horseshoe Meadows, Whitney Portal, and Onion Valley Road. Onion Valley Road is, in some circles, considered one of the hardest climbs in the country. It's a sustained 9% for 12 miles. There's no let up at all. It's 9% pretty much the whole way.
There's no Tanner flats.
There's not a single flat on that climb. But I will say, again, you want to talk about epic climbs. The Horseshoe Meadows climb is, everybody should Google it. It's cut out of this mountainside. You got full view of the valley the whole way up, zigzags. It looks like a Z cut into the side of the mountain. This climb going up and over into Horseshoe Meadows. It's stunning. So yeah, and then Kyle and I invented the double baked potato last year.
Here it comes.
We
wait, double baked potato.
Yeah, so the baked potato I did the year before with my brother-in-law, and that was just from Salt Lake up to Malad City, where my in-laws have a cabin. And Kyle and I decided if we're going to ride up, we might as well ride back. So last year we rode up, spent the night, and finally about 11 o'clock the next day convinced ourselves to get back on the bike and ride back down to Salt Lake. 125 miles each way, and it was a fun adventure. Yeah,
I love that. Great name.
Oh,
nice, dude. Well, with so much cycling, I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, and Meg mentioned it. It's kind of an awesome opportunity to maybe talk to the team and listeners about how you balance it all. Family, an incredible job. What advice would you give on how you balance this sport?
So in 2015, again, that was the year where I was trying to upgrade and I wanted to achieve a couple of goals. And I was talking with Rachel, my coach, about it. And she said, you could do these things that you want to do, but the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice to do them? And that comment just kind of hung in my head for weeks, if not months, as I thought about that. Like, what am I willing to give up to achieve these goals? And then I just kind of had this realization one day that, I have nothing to prove. What am I really trying to accomplish? I'm really just trying to have fun and stay healthy and burn off some stress. And so I have just come to this realization that I cannot take myself too seriously on the bike. It's, I have a greater purpose in life. I have a greater responsibility, and that's my family. And they do come first. My kids often joke that, well, I'll tell you the story. So my mother-in-law got locked out of her house once, and she threw a bicycle through a window because her kids were in the house. Her little babies were in the house. She threw a bicycle through the window to get her kids out of the house. And my kids turned around and looked at me and they go, you know what? I know Dad would throw us through the window to get his bikes out of the house if we ever got locked out of the house. So I remind them, and I remind myself frequently, that no, I would never throw my kids through a window to rescue my bike if it got locked inside the house. But I am as guilty as anybody of putting my hobbies sometimes before my family, and so I am lucky to be surrounded by good people who remind me what's really important. That's my family. I've got amazing kids and an amazing supportive wife who lets me do some of these crazy things, and but then also knows when to say, hey, Dan, this is too much. You got to stop for a little bit.
That's great. Yeah, I remember I was training for a half Ironman. It's like 2015, and I finished it. And I remember we went to church that Sunday, and Kristen was telling one of the ladies in our ward or whatever, our church, and she was like, yeah, my husband did Ironman for years. And she goes, there's nothing more selfish than an Ironman. And I was standing there, and Kristen looked at me and she was like, mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing another one. Like, it's actually, I think about it all the time, but it is tough. It's hard to balance them.
So again, another reason to ride at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I can be home and dedicate the time I need to dedicate to my family.
Nice. Well, Dan, when we met a couple of years ago, you told me about your, I thought it was an incredible story about your adopted son, your youngest boy. Do you want to share it? I mean, you want to talk about your family? I think it's an incredible story to share that people will have incredible insight to you when they hear it.
Yeah.
Crying is allowed too, if you want to cry. It's fine.
Oh man. Has anybody cried on the podcast yet?
Only Sharp when Sharp talks
cried.
about his gooch.
Yep. We can't tell why he's crying. Either pain or joy.
So several years ago, I was kind of at a point where I was doing a little bit of soul searching, and I was listening to a podcast, and I was sitting in a parking lot in American Fork of a dental office. Actually, I was waiting for them to open. It was about 7:30 in the morning, and I was listening to the podcast, and I'm not going to get religious or spiritual here on this podcast. If anybody wants more details on that end of it, feel free to reach out to me. But
we don't have the explicit rating, Dan. You can go for it. Just kidding.
But this particular podcast was just it was talking about being how to be a true disciple of Christ. And as I was listening to it, this impression came into my head that I needed to adopt a kid. And mind you, I have 5 kids already at this point. Our youngest kids are twins who they're wonderful. I love them. But, twins rock your world when they're really young. and I was like, no, we can't do that. But this feeling just kept coming back to me, that we were supposed to do this. And I remember texting my wife, I just, Stu, my wife, how you probably imagine her response. She read the text and sent me some emojis and said, no, this, no way. We are not ready for that. This was in February, and a couple of months went by, and I just kind of kept it to myself. But the feeling didn't go away. Like, it just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I kept being, through random weird ways, I kept being brought back to this talk that I had heard, and other people bringing it up. And it just kept coming back. And I said again to Meg, I said, I think we need to adopt. And she said, I'm not ready. And then in May or June, one day she came home from a meeting and she said, we need to adopt a kid. She had a similar experience to what I had. And so we started the process, and we went through, where do we adopt from? Boy, girl, how do we do this? We start doing research. We find out that there's just adoption can be a really good thing, but it can also be a super traumatic thing for people. And there are horrible things that are happening in our world with adoption and child trafficking. And so we were scared. I mean, we just didn't know how to go about it. And but we had some friends who had adopted and were able to give us some good advice. And we gave it a lot of thought, and we finally decided that we were going to adopt a quote unquote special needs child from China. And the paperwork alone took about a year and a half to do. Before you can even start thinking about getting a child in your home. So we did all the paperwork, and then the adoption agency at that point, they start sending you files. And now when you adopt a special needs child, you fill out a medical form of things that conditions you're willing to take on. And that kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit when you start reading through that list of all the medical conditions. It's like, who am I to say I can't take on this, or I can't take on that? Like, where did I all of a sudden earn the right to become the judge? But you go through this list, and so we checked off things that we were willing to take on, and then they send you a file. They send you videos, they send you pictures, they send you a several pages of medical history. And again, another really gut-wrenching process of, is this the right child for us? And if not, if there's an element of guilt there. Like, how do you say no? And so they sent us a file in late summer, and we were actually on vacation in California. We had our kids all gather around and looked at this file together. And we consulted with some pediatricians here and ultimately decided not to take this child. And man, there were a lot of tears shed as we made that decision. Our kids were kind of crying about it too, because they were all in on this with us. It was really amazing. But we said no. And then a couple of months later, another file came, and it was our son. And we did our homework and consulted with some doctors, and we said, yeah, this is something we can do. And so that was in August, maybe that was September. That was in September. And by November, we were on a plane, took two of our kids with us and flew out to China. My amazing wife spent 3.5 weeks out there doing paperwork and getting visas and passports done. But the cool thing is we got to the city. I mean, there's a group of 7 of us that went out. 7 families were adopting. And our son Isaac had full cleft lip and palate when he was born, and was put up. He was born in a very destitute circumstance, and the doctors told his parents he wouldn't survive, and so the dad left him on the side of a highway, and he was found. And I'll tell you how I know that here in a second. But he had a surgery done while he was in the orphanage, and they did the initial correction. He's had a couple more since he's been back here, but the day that we went into this room to meet our kids, 7 families walk in there. This little boy comes running out of that room, and it was the first kid that we had been sent the file for. And so, as horrible as I felt at the time that we weren't taking this kid, like, that was resolved for me, because I knew he had a family. And he was the funniest kid, just came bolting out, running around in the parking lot. They had like 20 people chasing him, trying to bring him back in, just laughing the whole time. And then I walked into the room. I was the first, I guess Meg was in front of me, but I walked in and saw Isaac there, and Isaac looked at me and his eyes got really big, and his nanny set him down, and he just bolted for me and ran into my arms. And I mean, the connection was immediate. Like, it just, the 2 years of paperwork and these feelings that I had just all came together in this one moment as I held him. And I knew that he was supposed to be mine. He was supposed to be ours.
How old was he at that point, Dan?
He was 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's 6 now. And so my 2 kids that were with us and I went back after 2 weeks. I went back. I came back home to go back to work, and Meg's dad flew out and did the last week with her to finish up the adoption and bring Isaac home. And after he had been with us for a few months, Meg found this lady who specializes in finding adopted children's birth parents, and specifically in China. And and she said, "This is a shot in the dark." She said, my statistics are low, but if you want me to try, we can try." And so we created a flyer with pictures of Isaac and his story. She translated all of it into Chinese. She went to so we knew at that time the police station where he was taken. That's all we knew. And so in all the little towns around that police station, we had these 500 flyers that we had made up, and she just stapled them in the center of town or in parks and playgrounds and places like that. A little boy found one of the flyers and took it to his class at school and gave it to the teacher. The teacher read the flyer and she said, "I think this sounds familiar to me. This story sounds familiar to me. I know of a family that gave up their child about this time in this area." And she contacted us, and she said, "There's a Chinese festival coming up and I'm off work. It's about a 2-hour drive. I'll go out there if you want me to go out there and try and see if it's them." And we were like, "Wow, that's really nice of you. We would be really grateful." And so she went out and visited this family. She took a bunch of videos. I can't even tell you how lowly their circumstances were. But she found them, and they corroborated the story. They have two other kids, two older kids, a boy and a girl. And so the next step is to do a DNA test. And so it's kind of illegal to send a DNA test to China. So we had to take it all apart, disassemble it in a box with a bunch of pencils and erasers and school supplies, sent it to this lady in China, who delivered it to the school teacher, who then drove it out to the parents. The parents took the test, brought it back, reassembled it in this box with all the school supplies, sent it back, sent in the results, sent in Isaac's DNA test, and it was a perfect match.
Wow.
And so my wife has done most of the communicating with them. It's mostly been with the grandparents. I think it's been hard for the parents to stay in touch with us, but the grandparents have been really good about, in fact, Chinese New Year is just right around the corner here, and we always get a little message from them wishing Isaac a happy Chinese New Year, and we share pictures back and forth with them. So it's just been an unbelievable experience.
Dude, crazy. How did it change your family? Like, is it?
I think, our kids, our natural kids, our biological kids are 100% behind us. That you ask any one of them, they would say that it's felt like he's been with us. He's always been a part of our family. It's been very natural. He shares a room with our 13-year-old. Actually, they are as tight as two individuals can be. And when she doesn't come in to go to bed at night, he gets upset and runs around to find her because he wants to be around her. He's got an older brother that he loves. They do a lot of Nintendo stuff together, and he's a great kid.
So cool.
What a story,
man. Nice, Dan. I mean, it's just such a cool insight into who you are and your family, and kind of the type of life that you live, which is one of the things I love about you. As we kind of wrap up, as we finish up, you are wise, dude. You're a smart guy. And what advice would you give to people listening? Stuff you've learned over the years, whether it's cycling or life lessons, anything that you would that you kind of pass on and share?
So I have this work mantra that I use with my staff, and it's a extension of, I think, what my personal mantra is. And so I know you said 3 things, but I'm going to give you 4 things. The first, so the acronym is CARE. When at work we say we're going to show our patients that we care. And what does care mean? Well, the C is for connect. We're going to connect with our patients and make a connection, make a personal connection with them. Number 2 is achieve. So achieve good results, or accomplish good. Number 3, recognize our successes with our patients when we have them. And number 4, and this is my favorite one, is enjoy the ride. And I always try to enjoy the ride. In fact, I'd probably put that first, and then everything else seems to fall into place. But in all my relationships, with my family, with my friends, I love to see people achieve things that they don't think they can achieve, do hard things. I always tell my kids, Thunell's do hard things. But then when we do achieve something that's hard, it's really important to recognize it and show them what they're able to do and what they're capable of. So those are my those are my life lessons.
Nice. Beauty. Chip, any follow-up?
Yeah. You know, oftentimes we think that it's often shared that Mi Duole has a great culture about it. And it's important for us to remember that Mi Duole does not create the culture, but it is the people that create the culture within Mi Duole. And so grateful for Dan being one of those people that create this culture that we belong to, that we're able to participate in, and just awesome culture that has been shared today for sure.
Nice.
Thanks.
I agree. 100%, Chip. Thank you,
Well,
Dan.
you guys have set a bar, and man, I'm really glad I found this team, and I'm grateful every day to be a part of it. It's I know that you think about Mi Duole, and I think about some people that do and don't belong to our team that we've rallied around over the years, who've gone through some hard times. This is more than just a cycling team. This is a brotherhood, sisterhood, and it's special. And you guys really set that tone. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. 2022, it's going to be the best yet. Can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. Got some good plans this year.
Can't wait for Hoodoo.
Yeah.
Come support me.
Yeah, I'll be there, dude. I guess I'll ride behind you. I don't know. I thought I was going to ride in front of you, but I guess I'll ride behind.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you, Dan, for your time. I appreciate you're a busy man. So grateful that you'd prepare and share with us. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Dan.